Now we're down to the last two centers, and I purposely made it to where the last two centers are the same color, in this case orange. Putting this in is going to have to use some 5-layer supercube techniques. Now the 5-layer supercubes were a little more complicated than the 4-layer supercubes because the 4-layer supercubes you just had corners to deal with. You have to throw in edges here, and so they have to be coordinated. I might be regretting doing the same color because things are going to get perhaps a little confusing, but I can see that this is correct. I'm just going to focus on one side right now. I'm going to focus on putting the edges in. So I'm not even going to put the corners in as of yet. And this might not be correct, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get corners in first, edges in. So this one, 2, one of these guys is going to come over to here. Got to find out which one. Move this in. It ain't that one. How about this one? Move this in, and it's this one. Okay, I'll buy that. Let's move this out of the way and bring this in. In so doing, this is now in. So this is in, this is in, and this is in. Now let's go ahead and put this one. I can see this big one is down here. So we're going to move this over here, and we're going to find, say, this one. So I'm doing an edge first technique with the last two centers here. Turn, and that's in. Okay. Now, how am I going to get this in without rooting things? I'm just going to move this out. Turn this in like so. Move this over here and bring this over here. Okay. What I have is I have these edges that are in. These edges are in the correct area, they're just not at the right place. This one is, these rest aren't. So, how am I going to do this? I'm going to still orient this. I'm going to try to not touch these other centers as much as I can. So orient this over here. So what am I going to do? Now, why can't I do this just like I did with a Gigaminx? Why can't I just get the last two centers the same way? Now, if you notice, I didn't really make too much of a big deal out of it. All I did is I put all the ones in one center and the other one naturally followed. The reason that I can't do that is because of equivalency. So this has equivalency of pieces. This could be here, this could be here, this could be here, this could be here. These two could swap, it really doesn't matter. So because of that, I didn't have to think of specific places. Not so with this guy. With here, I don't have equivalency like that. Because of the shape of this, because it's sloped down and these guys are sloped up, I can't interchange one piece for another. So that's what makes this a supercube. So because it's not that simple, even though I have all of these in place, remember in a Gigaminx all these would be equivalent. Here these are not equivalent, they're all pretty much different. Even these two that look alike, they cannot be interchanged. Because if I tried it, it would end up being sloped like this, although this is okay over here. So what am I going to do? Well, I have to revert to supercube techniques, which is maybe exemplified by this guy. Now what I have is pretty much everything solved except for the last two centers over here. This is a similar situation. Forget these corners here, but this, and this are in place. But I got a situation here where just this is in place. These guys are not equivalent as they would be in a non-supercube. So in order to put these in place, I do the algorithm that keeps this the same and rotates these around exactly like I do with the 3x3. R, U, Ri, U, R, 2U, Ri. And we're going to keep doing this until this comes back. R, U, Ri, U, R, 2U, Ri, and it's all in. But it's not that simple with this either because this is 4 sides, this is 5 sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to adapt this. Now, if you remember in my Megaminx tutorial, you'll know that instead of doing R, U, RIU, R2U, RI, I did R, U, RIU, R3U, RI. And I did that when I was putting in the last layer of the edges, as exemplified by this guy. But imagine all these as edges, I would use that. And what would happen is instead of just this being held constant and everything rotating, I'd have two that were constant. This stayed the same and this stayed the same. So because of that, I had to arrange it in such a way to where these two are in and then would hold it as such so that everything else was rotated. Same concept here, but I get to apply it to a Megaminx. So this is where it needs to be. What needs to go over here? Well, obviously not this. It's got to be this. This over here has to come into over here. If I do this algorithm, this will stay the same, so this won't get in there. This can't come into here, and that takes us out of commission. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move it like this. The reason why I'm doing that is that this will stay the same, this will not be touched, but eventually this will rotate here, because this will stay the same. Over here, this what looks like an empty set, but there's a little orange piece in there, and this will stay the same. So I'm going to do that algorithm until this over here is, well, this is over here, until this is in. So that's going to be, make sure we're all lined up here and we didn't get turned around. So we've got, there we go, move this here. R, now notice I do have equivalency here, just something to keep in mind. U, Ri, U, R, 3U, 1, 2, 3U, and Ri, bang. Okay, so this is all fine. Notice this is still here. I'm going to do it again until this guy comes here. Now this is where it needs to be, but I need them to be next to each other. So let's do it again. R, U, Ri, U, R, 3U, 1, 2, 3, U, and Ri. So that's what I wanted to have happen. This is in and this is in. So I'm basically applying techniques that I've used before in this particular puzzle, and that's how you should problem solve with these things. So now if I put this here, this will be constant and this will be constant, and these guys will rotate around until it's where it needs to be. So do it again. R, U, Ri, U, R, 3U, 1, 2, 3, and Ri. And I think one more should do it. What do you think? R, U, Ri, U, R, 3U, 1, 2, 3, U, Ri. Okay, and it worked. Holy cow, it worked. So in, and this edge is in and this edge is in. So again, I'm applying known strategies to what appears to be a novel puzzle, but really isn't so novel if you just break it down like that. Now, corners. How am I going to get these corners in? Well, again, I've got supercube algorithms that are available to me to do that. Again, I do not have equivalency. One corner is like the next. Here, it isn't. So I have to put these in independently. So what algorithms did we use for supercubes that can help guide me with this? Well, once again, we can look at this, and we had an algorithm that brought this to here, and this to here. What I'm going to have to do is turn this upside down, because I don't want to move this. If I just have one out on one side, that becomes the top layer. So this is the top layer over here. And what I'm going to do is, if I move this over to here, I can move this into here, and this will come here, and this will come here. The problem with that is, well, basically that's what my technique is going to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving things up and then moving things down. So this needs to come over to where? This needs to come over to here. Actually here. So I'm going to move this over here. So this will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. And that's going to be R, UI, Li, U, Ri, Ui, Li. So that, plot that in over here. And then it's just a question of strategy. Now this needs to come over to here. So this is R, ui, li, u, ri, ui, li. And that's okay over here. And I just keep wheeling this around until things are where they need to be. This is supercube solved. All right, so now this can be a nice swapping over here. This will come here, this will come here, and this will come here. And you can see everything will be fine. Again, my goal here is not to go through a tutorial of that, but you can see now I've got all the corners in and I've got all the corners in over here. So how do I variate that with this? Well, if you remember with Megaminx solves, I did have a way of rotating corners around. Rotating these corners around, rather. The only difference is when you do this, you have to do 2 u's instead of 1 u. And it's not just a 2u, you have to do 2 ui or 2u. I'm going to do the same thing. So let's see what happens. So what needs to swap where, just to check my theory here? Well, let's see, where does this go? This needs to go over to here. So let's see what's going to happen. Now, I probably should have done this in different colors just to better illustrate what's happening, but you know, since this isn't mass produced, I don't think we're looking at this in order to learn how to solve them unless you get various supercube stickers for this. But I'm going to do the same algorithm and let's see what happens. This will come here. This will more than likely come here, and this will come here, although I don't know that we want to knock this guy out over here, but let's just see what happens. So we're going to go R, two UI, L, I, to U, Ri, to UI, and Li. The end result is we should not have changed these guys, and it did put this in place, so this one was placed. Now it's hard for me to see what happened with the other pieces, except this was taken out and this was put in over here. Not at the right place. So that had the same effect, but just a little variation of the algorithm. So while I'm in the neighborhood then, let's see if we can put the proper one in here. I'm going to move this like so. Now, which is the proper one here? I'm going to say maybe this one. Let's move this up and see if it likes where it is. Yeah, right over here. So here's my prediction. This will come here, this will come here, and this will slide back into here. So this will be the right one. So same movements, slightly skewed algorithm. So R, 2UI, Li, to U, Ri, to UI, and finish it on up with an L. Okay. The variation of this, if you notice, is really not difficult to figure out. It's just a matter of swapping things right. So now these are all in, and this did have the predictable effect that it had. None of these really belong over here. So I dare say that this is actually all in. So this is all solved over here. Are we good down here? Well, no, actually we're not. We don't like these over here. 1, 2. The other challenge with this puzzle is visualizing things. I don't mean from a standpoint of perspective, I mean actually visualizing it. So this is in correctly over here. And now these guys, it's hard to visualize, but you can see they don't match up. Take my word for it, this orange doesn't match up with this. So I can find equivalent pieces down here and see what's supposed to be where. I think this would find a nice home over here, and this one might actually belong up here. Let me just check it out, see if it's good. And no, not good. So we're going to find a different one that can go over there. Well, you know, that's actually okay, because this will put this over here, and at least it'll bring this one down, so we can try to put it on that side. So the purpose of this at the end of the day is to put this over here. So that's going to be R2UI Li2U Ri 2UI L. Now, despite the issues with trying to line things up, this is a very, very stable puzzle. L. Okay. So this moved here, but I guess it didn't really belong here. I think this actually belongs over here. So I may be able to kill a couple birds with one stone. I can bring this here. I'm going to move this part in here again. So again, we're trying to put the right ones on this side, you know, the part that you can't really see so good. You can't see this here because of these overhanging edges. Let me see if I can move this here, maybe here. Okay. I think maybe you can visualize this a little better. Make sure we can move, yeah. So you can see this here doesn't belong. But my suspicion is that this one hidden here does. Yeah, right over here. So this is a match made in heaven, because this next one, this will come here, this will come here, which doesn't belong, but this will come here, which I think probably does belong. So let's try it. So R to U, 2UI rather, Li to U up comes over here to U, then Ri to UI and Li. Now, I think I messed that up a little bit. Yeah. Well, no, not really. Okay, so this is where it needs to be now. This is not. We're still pretty jangled around here. So I think this, oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. So I have a very similar situation where everything is in except this one. So I'm going to move this over here. Move this over here, actually. Now, and this will come into here. Let's just see what happens. So I have R to UI Li to U Ri to UI and L. And yes, it is hard keeping track of all of these layers. Now, what I did is this is now solved. This center is now solved, but this is still pretty jumbled up. But that's okay, because now what we have to do is we have to start getting other sides in, and I did put this one in, which is not where it wants to be. Okay, so I'm going to start focusing on some other things right now. Can this go to here? And the answer is, well, we'll find out. So I'm just going to start moving things around. Could this go here and this go here? Maybe I can solve two here, so let's try that. R to UI Li to U Ri to UI and L. Okay, I did sacrifice this top part, but that's okay. I'm going to be swinging that around just like I did with the other supercube in order to put things in. So let's swing this back around here so we line this up. Now, what do we do that was good? Well, this is in. That's good. This is not in. That's not good. This belongs over here, so if I do that algorithm twice, then this will end up over here, this will end up over here, and this will end up over here. But at least I'll have a solid line here. So let's do it twice. So what I have is these two are all in, so I'm going to move this out of the way. So these both are fine, so now I'm going to try to work the same magic here. This probably belongs over here. And this will come over to here, which I'm not so sure it belongs or not, but let's try it out. At least we're moving in some kind of a direction here. Move this out of the way. I can tell that these are edge pieces here. So we have R, 2UI, Li, 2U, Ri, 2UI, and L. It's always these last layers that are what I call the payoff layers. This is the challenge. This is why we got this puzzle. Why I got it to begin with. Anyway, I figured there might be something added to this that I've not seen before or I have to variate. Not reinventing the wheel. That's not what I'm interested in. But applying what I know in something of a novel way. Okay, so this was put in exactly the way we wanted, and it's at the right place. We did salvage this, but now we turn this down over here and see what else we can do. I move this here. This no doubt is supposed to go over here. So what I'm going to do is move this up. This will come up over here, this will come down here, and this will come over to this side. So let's give it a try. First we do our little lining up dance and do R, 1, 2, 2UI, 2UI, Li, that already looks good, 2U, let's not get lost here between these jumbles of pieces. This is going to fold over to here. Ri, 2UI, and L. And holy cow, it's working! Slowly but surely, it's an endurance event. We'll move this back over here, like so. Okay, now what? Okay, these are all in. Now remember the parity of this puzzle. There is no parity with this, which means I need not worry about this. It has to work out. It's going to work out because it has to work out until I get the 6-layer version of the Gigaminx. Anyway, what's going to have to happen here is this needs to come to here. This needs to come to here. Well, if I do it twice, this will end up over here, this will end up over here, and this will end up over here. So my hope is that these two pieces will have that degree of equivalency. So let's give it a try. Hopefully this will do what I wanted to do with this next turn. If not, I'm in trouble and I'm going to have to do a little bit of tap dancing here because things did not happen as I predicted. You can see all this is in, but these two need to be swapped. I'm relying upon the equivalency of pieces. This needs to come here, this will come here, and this will come here. Now I have to have the faith that it has to be solved with this. There is no other option. So without any further ado, let's just do it. So we have R, 2ui, li, I like it already, 2u, ri, 2ui, and last but not least, li. And for the first time on the YouTube stage, we have all of the centers placed on a super gigaminx. So this is all in, this is all in, all the centers are in. So we can see the tetrahedral portion of this puzzle coming out. So the next step, now that we've done this, and we've done much of the hardest portion, is we do edge placement. Edge placement is done the same way with a gigaminx. Now these have no equivalencies, so it's done the same way. You cannot flip-flop these two. Well, you could, but you're going to know that they shouldn't be because you're going to have the center one over here. The main issue, the main challenge was this. Then of course there is the final layer when we get to that. But just by way of demonstration, I'm going to find different types of centerpieces. So I see edge pieces rather. Red and green, here's red and green over here. What I'm going to do is now line up the red and green so that I can put them in. And this is just going to take a little bit of doing. This red and green can match up with this. This is turned down like so. And you see that that's a match made in heaven. Bump it out of the way. Move it in over here. Move this in. Move this into substitute and bump it back. So let's find what we just did. And it's right over here. So red and green is here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish that edge. Now it's this one that's supposed to be here. So I'm going to move this down so you can see this is fine. And then turn, 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 and up we go. Okay, so what did that do? That put in this. What I'm going to do is exactly what I did. I'm going to start doing edge reduction until I get to the last two edges and see where we can go from there. So here we are at the last two centers. It might be hard to see, but I have a red, red, and orange, and an orange, orange, red. So we don't have to worry about parity issues. We don't have to worry about those things that we did with the gigaminx, or placement issues rather. This will come down here, this will come down there for a clean swap, and because there's no issues with rotation or issues with shape, then you don't have to worry about that. This is where the three-dimensional aspects of these three-dimensional twisty puzzles really come into play, because you have to bear in mind the three-dimensional configuration of these edges in relation to each other. So, putting this to here, this comes across here in true edge reduction strategy. This comes here. Then we do R, Fi, U, Ri, F, and then swing it on back. This is the only easier part of this puzzle, is the last two edges if done right. So there you have it. So now I have all edges are reduced. This has now become a hexaminx. I have pretty much a fancy shapeways printed hexaminx over here, and I'm going to solve it as such.